If an old woman named Alice invites you into her home, do not enter. Alice creeped me out from the beginning, but she paid well. Really well. I've been a handyman for a decade with a great client list, clients who loved my work and kept coming back. Plumbing, electrical, landscaping, painting, I could do it all. No job was too big or too small. Alice called after finding my phone number online. She lived in a one-storey house in a rough neighbourhood on the outskirts of town and had a home project to-do list that was 3 miles long. She was very sweet when I visited her home to give her an initial quote on her project list. Alice was in her 80s, thin, soft-spoken, with piercing blue eyes and a warmth in her mannerisms. She moved slow and with a slight limp as she walked through her quaint house. A crisp purple tracksuit seemed to be her daily uniform. "I'll be honest with you, Alice," I said. "I have so many clients at the moment. I'm not sure I'll be able to get to your projects anytime soon. Are you sure you don't want to reach out to some other handyman in the area?" Alice grinned. "I'd prefer you, honey. I've heard great things about your work. Whatever price you list in your quote, double it, and I'll pay cash." "Double it, Alice, that really isn't," but she insisted. I couldn't say no, even though something struck me as odd about Alice and how she looked at me throughout the visit. As she showed me around the house and pointed out the various things that needed fixing, I would catch her staring at me and licking her thin, dry lips with a trembling swipe of her cracked tongue. This happened multiple times. I'd catch her doing it off to my side while I needed to inspect the work that needed to be done. But as mentioned, I couldn't say no. I really needed the money. I shifted some other customers' appointments around and got started at Alice's house the very next morning. 3 things happened in that first day of work that scared the hell out of me. My first project was installing a new garbage disposal. I'd removed everything under the kitchen sink, including the old disposable apparatus. I was now laying on my back, looking up through the now open hole of the sink's drain. Through the drain hole, I could see the kitchen's old popcorn ceiling above. I turned my side to grab a stool, and when I lay back down and gazed up through the hole, my heart spasmed. Alice's face was looking down at me through the open drain hole, a thick trickle of saliva dangling from the corner of her frowning mouth. She looked hungry. No, starving. "Jesus Christ," I shrieked, banging my head on the bottom of the sink as I moved like hell to get out from under the cabinet. "Alice, what in the world are you—" But she wasn't there. I was alone in the kitchen, and there was no way she had left the room that fast. "Alice, are you there?" I called. In here came a shaky voice from the living room. I walked into the cottage-themed room to find her watching a daytime soap opera on an ancient TV set. "It wasn't me, sweetheart, but I'm sure you're doing great in there," she smiled. "I wouldn't dare miss a second of this soap. It's my favourite, though I could do without all the whores." "Oh, okay." My confusion was palpable. I turned to go back into the kitchen. "One more thing." "Yes, Alice?" "You won't take the Lord's name in vain again under my roof. Understood?" Later in the day, outside with my ladder leaned above Alice's bedroom window, I filled in the places where a woodpecker had damaged the house's siding. The afternoon was dim with clouds, heavy with the anticipation of rain. I was high enough on the ladder that my legs were at the same level as Alice's window, with my upper body nearly to the roof as I smoothed the recently filled holes with my putty knife. Still shaken from the morning scare of Alice's demented face staring down at me through the sinkhole, I tried to enjoy being outside in the cool weather. And I was starting to feel calm until I felt bony, hard hands groping my calves and ankles through the rungs of the ladder. Along with this unwelcome massage, I could have sworn I heard a choking voice whispering, "So strong, give me a taste, strong boy." I gave a small yelp and spasmed, nearly plummeting from where I stood on the high rung. Tightening my grip and pulling myself into the ladder to prevent falling, my eyes shot down just in time to see 2 thin wrists clothed in the sleeves of that purple tracksuit, disappeared back into the window right below me. By the time I made it back down to the ground, the window was shut and the curtains were drawn. I marched back into the house to confront Alice, to tell her how unwanted that behaviour was, but she was at her kitchen table, sipping a steaming cup of tea and flipping through a tabloid. There was no way in hell she'd just moved from her bedroom to the kitchen that fast. What the fuck was going on? "Everything okay, Mr. Handyman?" she asked, wiping a thin smear of lipstick off the rim of her cup. Everything's fine, Alice. Thanks." The third and final occurrence of that first day of work disturbed me most of all. The late afternoon found me again in the kitchen, this time preparing to do minor repairs on some of the kitchen appliances. As I prepared my tools, I realised I should find the breaker box and shut off the power to the appliances before I worked on them. After all, were I to electrocute myself in Alice's house, I wasn't convinced her trembling fingers could call 911 fast enough to get me help in time. Before approaching the door to the basement to locate the breaker box and turn off the power to the kitchen, I figured I'd better tell Alice that I was about to go into the basement. I had a lot of elderly customers, and giving them a heads up of where I was going in their house and why was never a bad idea to keep everything above board. But Alice was nowhere to be found. She wasn't in the kitchen, the living room, outside on the patio, or in the room she had designated for crafting. Realising she was likely in her bedroom, perhaps taking a nap, I approached and quietly tapped on the door. "Alice?" To my discomfort, the door was not latched and swung open at my touch. Within the dark bedroom appeared dense with fog and reeked of mildew. Though I wasn't sure, the pitch-black ceiling seemed speckled with pinpoint starlights from a cruel and distant galaxy. A faint groan emanated from a human shape sitting on top of the bed, a thick and tattered quilt adorned with strange symbols, covering every inch of the writing beneath it. No. I quickly closed the door. I made a decision. I would go to the basement, turn off the breaker, finish my work, get paid, and get the fuck out. And I wouldn't be coming back to Alice's house once I was done. Locating the basement door, I turned the knob and made to go down the unsteady wooden staircase into the dark, unfinished cellar that reeked of old water. "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" I turned. Alice was shaking with fury behind me, drool pouring from the corners of her mouth, tiny hands balled into fists, her eyes wide, spasming, bloodshot and animal-like. "Alice, I have to click off the breaker for. How would you like it if I came into your house and snooped around? How would you feel about that, Mr. Handyman? Do you have no sense of privacy? What if I took a look around your basement or your bedroom, see where you and your horse sleep? Would you like that?" I tried my best to remain calm. "I'm so sorry, Alice. I didn't mean to." She let out a chuckle mixed with a gag and wiped the thick slime from her lips. "Oh, honey," she crooned. There was a total and immediate shift of Alice's body and voice. Then, as if the monster had turned back to human, the gentle old woman stood before me once more. "I meant to ask earlier, sweetheart. Would you like some more tea?" No amount of money was worth this shit. Without a word, I grabbed my toolbox and I left. Alice called me early the next morning. "Hello there, Mr. Handyman. Thank you so much for all the quality work you did here yesterday, but you silly boy, you forgot to let me pay you. I have plenty of cash ready to go, so please swing by later this morning." I knew I should just drop it. Be done with Alice. Be done with that house. Forgo payment. Forget the payment. But it was a lot of cash. Double payment. The creep old woman was more than happy to pay. Against my gut instinct, I drove to Alice's house and knocked on the door, and same as the bedroom incident, it swung open at my touch. "Alice?" No response. I walked into the house, announcing myself loud and frequently. I wandered through the rooms, calling Alice's name. Finding her nowhere, I made my way back to the front door, but my blood turned to ice when I noticed the open and yawning black mouth of the open basement door. I just couldn't bring myself to leave. Yes, Alice was creepy. Yes, I didn't feel fully safe in that strange house. But what if she was hurt? What if she had fallen? Against my twisting gut that screamed at me to leave, I went through the basement door and down the stairs, softly calling out the old woman's name. Alice, are you okay down there? The cellar had a hard-packed dirt floor and was dimly lit by cracked and filthy windows. What appeared to be hundreds of rotting boxes, trunks and artefacts from Alice's life littered the room from the floor to the ceiling that was strewn with cobwebs and wires. Tight canyons between the boxes and debris served as the only apparent path into the depths of the basement. Alice, I called again as I picked a trail through the junk pile and walked quietly into its depths. As I moved deeper, the fog and starry sky I had perceived in Alice's bedroom seemed to appear again around me. My clothes grew covered with dust and webs. The air was heavy, and it made breathing very difficult. It was then I heard chewing. I turned a corner and the maze of boxes opened in a small space with a stinking muddy floor littered with bones and strips of random meat. Animal bones? Human? I couldn't be sure. Amongst the mud and trash and bone, a manhole-sized pit gaped open like the mouth of a vile monster in a pre-vomit convulsion, black steam rising thick and ominous from the portal. Were those screams I could hear rising from within the black well? I wasn't sure and remained frozen in place. Every part of me felt locked up. As I stared into the black pit, a small, frail hand reached up and out of it. A raspy groan erupted from the hole, and the naked form of Alice pulled herself onto the muddy edge of the cellar floor. I want to bite Mr. Handyman. Covered in some kind of black milky tar, she looked up into my eyes and let out a laugh that was a horrifying mixture of pleasure and pain. "Let me eat, honey, let me eat," she screamed. In just a moment before she grabbed me, I was able to rip myself from the frozen stance and move my quivering body. Had I remained unmoving for a microsecond longer, Alice's sickening, long hands would have gripped my legs and pulled me into the dark well. I crashed through the maze of boxes, up the stairs and across the living room, and as I burst through the front door, I heard Alice's voice call out behind me. "Your money's on the kitchen table, Mr. Handyman." I was in my truck and gone before the front door slammed shut behind me. A week later, when my blood pressure had finally returned to normal, I contacted my friend, who works as a private investigator, a guy by the name of Tome. Yes, that's his real name, and he agreed to find out more about the old woman named Alice, who lived in that weird house on the outskirts of town. Buddy, it didn't take me long to realise that the house had been empty and abandoned for years. I shined a flashlight through every window in that piece of shit crib. It's empty, nothing but dust and dead mice. Also, there's no record of a woman named Alice ever having lived there. What did you say you saw there again? And more importantly, what the hell are you smoking? So if you meet an old woman named Alice, because I, and now we, in this community, have no idea what Alice or where she'll choose to make her next home, her next nest. A nest where the old woman in the purple tracksuit consumes tea, tabloids, soap operas, and maybe so much more. The time a mimic tried to take my son. So to start off, with my experiences dealing with the paranormal and supernatural, I've decided to start a podcast where I'd share other people's stories. But where would be the justice in that if I didn't share one of my own personal stories? Here we go. My ex and I have shared custody of our son. We'll keep it simple and call him Junior. This experience starts with Junior's mum. We'll call her Elle. Calling me and telling me that our son said he was seeing his uncle who had recently passed due to COVID complications. Keep in mind that Junior is 4 at this time. Elle said Junior was being told by his uncle to go with him. Junior told us that he didn't go with his uncle because his face was darkened and his eyes were sunken into his face, and it looked like his eyes were just black pits. After a week of no sighting, possibly due to a failed attempt, Junior told his mum that his cousin M was trying to get him to leave this time. Junior described his cousin in the same way as he did his uncle, only this time M was still alive. He described him with a sunken-in face and no visible eyes. Elle and I decided to do whatever was needed to get rid of this thing that was trying to take our son. We began our search for answers on what to do. Living in the Bible Belt can prove to be a pain when looking for answers to things of the supernatural. The third time this thing had tried to take our son was the straw that broke the camel's back. We were visiting my mum overnight and I stepped out for a cigarette. When I came back inside, my mum told me Junior asked her if I was dead. As soon as Elle and I walked into her door, she began talking to us about the situation. No prior information given, no explanation, nothing. She knew exactly what was going on without either of us fully telling her what was going on or telling her any major details. She told us what needed to be done. To this day, we've not had a similar encounter. All that aside, Junior still has experiences with things paranormal, as well as Elle, myself and my wife, but those are for another time.